A tall, thin, middle-aged man came up to me at the station, where the parking was very short. In his hands he held a large funeral wreath. Girl, please take the hair, he began to ask. I need to go to my wife's funeral and I spent the last money on a wreath. I don't have long to go, only 4 hours. I looked at him. He looks like a homeless man, but he's dressed neatly. It doesn't smell like alcohol. There was very little time to think and the man was almost ready to get down on his knees. Okay, I decided. Come in. Sit on the reclining chair. But if there is any check, thank you, daughter. The man interrupted me. Don't be afraid, I won't let you down. If anything, I'll smoke in the vestibule. Only where to put the wreath. Let's come to me, I took the sad luggage. Thank you, he repeated. Are you married? No, I answered. God grant that a good husband gets caught. Not like me. Well, why are you scolding yourself? So you are tearing up for your wife's funeral and you're ready to give the last money. I say, it's the least I can do to ruin her life, the man replied. I will repent before the dead, which I did not do before the living, the man said, lowering his eyes. What have you done? I asked. It's a long story, he replied. Well, you have to drive for 4 hours. Tell me. And then I heard this story. My name is Ivan Sergeyevich. Now, you see what I have become from a wandering, homeless life, and in my youth I was a tall, healthy guy. And the face is not a freak, as they say, blood with milk. After serving in the army, I got married, my daughter was born, everything seemed to be going well. But then an army friend called me to his altai. He got a job at a gold mine and found me a job. Without hesitation, I took my family and went for a long ruble. My wife, however, was left without a job since there was no library in the village, and she was a librarian, but my earnings were more than enough, and she brought books from the city to herself. And once I even found a rarity, an old book. I wasn't particularly interested in it, and my wife often looked into it. In general, this is how life flowed, calmly and steadily, and then she appeared in the village. This girl's name was very unusual, Tiana. Everything about her was unusual. I have never met such a woman before or since. It seems not a written beauty, and thin and too pale, but looks at you with slightly slanted greenish eyes, and you lose your mind. The quiet life in the village stopped with her arrival. A lot of guys almost got into a fight with each other. What are the guys? Married men looked at Tiana, and women hated her fiercely. The girl just laughed at it, not noticing anyone much. She worked as a nurse, and everyone started running to the infirmary, inventing various sores in order to have a word with her. Once I came in, but the reason was weighty. My hand was badly bruised at the mine. She put a cold on me, and when she touched my hand, on the contrary, she seemed to scorch me with fire. I looked into her eyes, and could not look away, as if fascinated. I hugged her, but she didn't resist. And then, like a madman, I began to kiss her. Then the girl gently pushed me away. Not here, she whispered. Come to me in the evening. And escorted out of the office. I could hardly wait for this evening, and rushed to her. And I can say that it was a crazy night. In her arms, I forgot about everything. It was pleasure and suffering at the same time, as if you were being thrown out of the fire into the cold. It is impossible to convey in words. I only remember that she seemed to bite me in the heat of passion, but I did not attach much importance to this. Do you love me? What is it? She asked. Yes, very much. I can't live without you now, I confessed. But you have a family, Tiana objected. I'll leave my family for you. That's exactly what I did, having caused the first evil to my wife, and justifying myself by the fact that I married her not for love, but for getting knocked up. Indeed, when I came from the army, I liked the girl, and not being embarrassed by the fact that she has a fiancé, I began to pursue her and as a result beat off a good guy. And the case ended with her pregnancy and forced wedding. At first I was even pleased, as if I had accomplished some feat. The wife was a pretty, kind, intelligent and affectionate woman. But to really love did not love. And I didn't know what it was until I met Tiana. And so quickly Tiana wrapped me up that my conscience didn't even torment me. I was ready to do anything just to be with her and left my wife. The first month was like a fairy tale. I idolized Tiana and she responded to me with fervent love. The only thing, in a fit of passion, she bit me like a predatory beast, but even these bites were bliss. After rough caresses, I usually fell asleep soundly, and in the morning I got up completely broken. However, in the evening I desired her even more than before. As a result, I lost weight, turned pale, the blush on my face disappeared, and Tiana, on the contrary, somehow recovered, her eyes shone brighter, and her lips resembled ripe cherries. She turned into a real beauty, but this beauty sometimes scared me. It was as if some ancient deity had descended to earth. In the morning, for some reason, she was very sluggish, irritated, and by the evening she brightened up, smiled, and cooked me an amazing dinner, more satisfying. She didn't eat herself, but sat opposite and looked at me strangely. You eat, don't pay attention. I already had a snack while I was cooking, she used to say. And when I insisted that she eat, she reluctantly took a small piece, chewing sluggishly, and she always put a big mug of tea with some herbs in front of me. "Honey, this is for healthy sleep," she said. Another month passed, and somehow on the street I met my wife, whom I had forgotten about at all. Guiltily looking away, I wanted to pass by, but she spoke Cullen. "Vanya, you don't look well. Lost a lot of weight." He turned pale. "Are you sick?" "No," I muttered back. "I'm all right. I'm sorry, Polina, but I'll file for divorce. You know yourself that I didn't marry you for love. And now I've met the only one I can't live without. Of course, I will not leave you and my daughter without help. I will pay the money regularly." My wife said nothing, looking at me sadly and thoughtfully. I waved my hand and walked on. Another month passed. I was getting worse and worse, and Tiana was blooming like a rose. The pallor and thinness disappeared, the eyes shone, the lips seemed to be filled with blood. And soon I had to take a sick leave, because I couldn't even get out of bed. Tiana seemed to feed me well and gave me decoctions, from which I slept soundly until morning, but my strength was draining away like water into sand. One evening she stayed late at work, and when she returned, she fed me, but she forgot to give me a decoction. I lay with my eyes closed, but I didn't sleep. Later, she lay down next to me. And suddenly I felt a strong bite and screamed in pain, but Tiana, ignoring the scream, continued to bite into my neck with her teeth, and did not let go of her until I lost consciousness. I woke up at the city hospital and learned incredible things. As it turned out, my wife killed Tiana, and not just killed her, but cut off her head. She was arrested and a trial was due to take place soon. I was found to have a large loss of blood, but they could not understand the cause of the bleeding. There were small bite marks on my neck, 2 tiny holes, but no one could even imagine that blood was being sucked out of me. After recovering a little, I asked for a date with my wife. She kept calm and did not repent of what she had done. I only asked one question. Why did you do that? To save you, Pauline replied. I wish you killed me. I shouted. I can't live without her. And you killed Tiana because of your damned womanly jealousy. Is that right? Vanya, listen, my wife began, but I interrupted her. I hate you. And I will never forgive you. Never. After these words, I turned around and left. That was our last conversation. I wasn't at the trial. Only later I found out that the prosecutor asked for 15 years, but they gave a minimum term, given her characteristics and the fervent petition of almost all the women of the village who are ready to testify for the defense. My wife was sent to the colony. Well, I've lost the whole meaning of life. I quit my job. He could no longer be where Tiana had died. Every day I thought about her, remembered her face and smile. And I hated my wife more and more, not doubting that she killed my beloved out of jealousy. I even began to dislike my little daughter, because the poor child looked like Polina. I took my daughter to my mother, left her there and left wherever I looked. He hired himself as a handyman, began to take a sip of the bottle, and very soon went downhill. After being released, my wife took her daughter and tried to find me. But I didn't want to see her. Many years have passed, and my daughter found me to deliver Polina's letter. The poor woman wanted to justify herself to me. This is the letter. Every line of it is etched into my memory. Hello, Vanya. I'm afraid I'll never see you again. You didn't listen to me, you didn't believe me. But please read the letter to the end. This is my last request. Do not refuse a dying woman. I fell in love with you from the first minute of our meeting, knowing that I do not cause reciprocal feelings. And loved until the very end. That's why I decided to do this terrible thing. You didn't get together with an ordinary woman. If you had left us for any human being, I would have endured, even though it was unbearably painful. But you were enchanted by the devil's essence. The ghoul. And she drank your blood. Do you remember that old book I bought at the flea market? It contained a description of this woman who appeared in our area 100 years ago, before the revolution. This book is the diary of an exiled nobleman. In it, he described his meeting with the beautiful Tiana, their insane passion, and his strange illness. As a result, he died from a great loss of blood, and the beauty disappeared. Seeing you, completely ill, exhausted on the street, and comparing all the facts, I realized what was happening. The ghoul reappeared in these places and found a new victim. I came in the evening to warn you. I brought my diary with me, but when I entered the room, I shuddered with horror. There was some kind of scary creature lying on the bed, and it didn't look like a person. It bit into your throat and sucked the blood. I screamed. The creature turned around and growled in response. There was blood all over his mouth. Then the ghoul got up and walked towards me, snapping her sharp teeth like a dog. I looked around, and fortunately I saw an axe standing near the stove. Without thinking, I grabbed him and hit the evil spirits. She screamed and tried to claw at me. I hit her again and cut off her head. Black blood gushed out of the vile body. She collapsed to the floor, struggled in agony and lay still. And then suddenly, before my eyes, the creature turned into a gull. Tiana's severed head lay in front of me. I dropped the axe and rushed to you. You were unconscious. I ran for help. Well, you know the rest. I'm afraid you won't believe the letter either, so I'm attaching to it a sheet from an old diary with a description of the one you considered your love. Goodbye, Vanechka, and I'm sorry, although I'm not to blame for anything in front of you. I saved your life. There was also a sheet of paper in the envelope, covered with ink faded from time. I unfolded it and read a story that fully confirmed my wife's words. And the name and appearance and habits were the same. There could be no doubt. I was swindled by the devil's spawn to be used as food. And I, a fool, believed and broke the life of both myself and Polina. He had caused her so much evil and grief that it would be enough for 10. And most importantly, I didn't have time to apologize. The man wiped his tears and fell silent. I didn't know what to say either. So terrible and sad was this story. Well, I think she forgave you, I finally said. I hope, the man said quietly, although the question is whether I will forgive myself. Finally the train came to the station. And the man, after thanking me warmly once again, took the wreath and disappeared into the crowd. I had his story spinning in my head for a long time.